Do you know what AWS is charging you? You don't want to get charged after your free tier or when closing your AWS account. And do you know which resource is costing you the most? Let's log into AWS and find out. So either you need to be logged in as a root user, or you need to have a user who has read permissions to billing, could be an admin as well. But after that, you need to make sure that if you want to IAM users to be able to read the billing information, we need to go to account. Within the account page, we then scroll down to IAM user and role access to billing information, and we need to make sure that this is activated. Again, only if you're logging in as a non-root user. Then whether logged in as root or a IAM user with the permissions, you can go to bills under billing and cost management feature. And this is the single true source of truth of what you're gonna be paying for in AWS. If it's not in here, you are not paying. But if it is in here, you're gonna need to pay, or it's within the free tier. So let me show you how this works. We have the bill summary showing the grand total of what we owe AWS for each month. So each month is billing period. If you scroll down, we can see the charges by service. And here we can see we have totally 14 active services that in some way, form, or shape has been billed and does accrue to that billing, to the bill. We can see we have EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud, API Gateway, CloudWatch, data transfer, and a bunch of other services. Now let's stick to the easy ones. EC2. If we open this up, we can see the exact regions also that has been accrued the charges. For example, in Frankfurt, I have been accrued 14 cents. And that's because I've been running this T4G.nano for 30 hours. And that has accrued a bill. Then we can see below here that I have an EBS attached probably to this one. Well, now we know it's attached to here. And that has cost me 0, but it has a basis for a charge, but I've used it so little so it doesn't actually charge for it. And if you're within the free tier or you use a free service, for example, API Gateway is up to a certain amount of requests, or Lambdas are up to a certain million requests are for free, then everything above that costs. We can see that it's free under a monthly tier. So we know if the free tier expires, we're gonna start being charged for this, anything beyond the free tier. We can see here the same. In Stockholm, I've had something running as well, but it's a T3 Micro, which is free within the free tier. And the same thing in US East, North Virginia. With API Gateway, I have API Gateway requests. I've only had one request, and as we can see, it's free. I have not been charged for it because it's so little amounts, but it has a basis for the bill. And the same thing for all these other services. Now, we can see also here in the VPC, I have a public IPv4 address, which is also free for the free tier and has been running for 30 hours. And then the total tax on this amount. But it's very hard to find these resources. Now, of course, I've only got 3 resources here running. I've seen this T4G Nano, it's in Frankfurt. Okay, I can go to EC2 in Frankfurt region and just find it and shut it down if I don't want to have it anymore. But say you have some more, or you might not even be able to find it. I'm going to show you an even better way to find this information. And that better way is Cost Explorer. You go down here, or you search in this bar for Cost Explorer, and it's a free tool to use via the interface. You will be charged if you make API calls using CLI or if you build an app on top of it. But using this interface is for free. And it allows you to visualize and understand and manage your cost and usage over time in AWS. You can break things down to understand what is causing the cost. And it allows you to view it at a very high level, either on region or service base. And it also allows you to dive deeper and see the exact resource, which is what we're going to be looking at. So first you need to enable it. I have already enabled it, so I see it here, but you need to enable it. And again, it's free. Then another exciting thing here, we can see it on a daily or hourly basis. And in order to activate that, we need to go under here in the bar, go to Cost Management Preferences, and go under Cost Explorer. Here in Cost Explorer, we can activate resource level data at daily granularity and do it for all the services. Now this is already free, and this is not a problem. It won't cost you anything if you do this, but it only gives you up to the last 14 days of data. But it's a nice way to see if you make progress on what you're doing. You can also do it on a hourly basis, but this does cost money, 1 cent per 1,000 usage records, which can stack up quite quickly. So for this video, we're gonna avoid doing that. But once you activate that, it will take up to 48 hours, I guess, to get this going. But when you do, you can go back to Explore, Cost Explorer, and this data gets updated once every 24 hours. But let's filter it. First, we need to select the correct date range. I'm going to select the last 7 days. And once we've done that, we can see here we got some charges. We can view it in different formats, and we can compare month to month, day to day, with how the different months have been going. But this is a brand new account, so I can only see September's data here. But it allows us to see, okay, the biggest spend was EC2 instances, then tax, and then other. So let's break this down on a daily. And as you can see, I've only been running things for 2 days, and it's not much. And we can see that the thing that's costing me the most money is EC2 instances. And then beyond that, it's tax. Everything else is free, as we saw in the bill, but we're not getting charged for this. So this doesn't give us so much more information than the bill, but it does give us that cost breakdown on a daily basis. We can also break down the cost per region, and we can see here the purple is no region, that's because it's the tax, and then the blue here is Frankfurt. And no other region has had spend, but they have had some sort of resource running. But the most exciting thing is to go under resource, which allows us to see exactly which resource has been generating the cost. Now, we can't see the resource usage for the free tiers, but we can see which resource is generating cost if that's already happening. And we can also see the resources running that would be generating cost but are within the free tier. So for example, we see this instance, I041, has been running 9th of September, 10th of September, and then it's not running anymore. So it was shut down if we don't have a line here. So we see that resource is no longer running, and therefore we don't need to be worrying about this one. So if I try to find this resource, I won't be able to find it. No resource ID, again, that's the tax, because we know the amount is 4 cents. And then we can see, okay, we had a database running. again, okay, that seems to be have been shut down on the 11th of September because on the 12th we no longer received any data. We have this instance I083, which seems to be still free, so it's probably the one within the free tier, and it's still running because we haven't shut it down. We have a AWS demo bucket, so this is the name of the bucket. And then we have some API gateway. Doesn't seem like that's generating any costs right now. And the same thing with the DynamoDB. We have a network interface, another network interface, some KMS keys. Then we have the log groups. We have another instance to shut down, some volumes, which have been shut down with because they probably got shut down with these instances that were shut down. But there we have the instances, and we can just take this. Now I'm not going to take this one, that doesn't exist, but I'm going to take this instance, and if you search for it here, it will come up under resources. And if we open that, we will be taken right to that instance, and we can see that, hey, yeah, it's running. So then we can choose what we want to do. If we want to shut this down to not incur any more cost, we just terminate it, and boom, it gets terminated. So it's shutting down, and that will be all fine. And that was the only resource running in this region. Remember, you can change the regions here, but we don't need that because we can get access to the item straight here. The same thing with this database. We won't search for this, but you could search for this up here, but you won't find this now because it's not there. Let's see what else we have running. That instance we just shut down, the bucket, we can search for that, and we can get straight to the bucket. And the same thing with these REST APIs. You don't need to search for the entire ARN. You can, and then we can see, hey, this REST API, although it didn't occur any cost, it still seems to exist. This API was used to get a request in some sort, but on these other days, it has not been getting a request. This table, again, we can just search for that, and we can find here this specific table, and we can find that table there. And you can go around, do this for all the resources, and if you have no resources running here, then you should be all fine for not getting billed, and just make sure that you don't get any bills later. Let it run for a month or so, but you should be all fine. And the last one that we'll look at here is API operations. It allows us to see which API operations are running. Now we can't see exactly which resource ran these operations, but you can do some reverse engineering. Again, you check the logs, you try to understand which resource is running these, because you might not even have a resource. It might have been that another service called an API request for something else.